Hey guys, I want to share some strategies that I have been effectively using to really stay on offense during this, COVID-19, really, battling against the shelter in place orders in order to at least in some way keep my business on offense. And I want to share three strategies in particular. So let me start by I'm going to share my screen. And what I want to do is I'm going to take you to the agenda. All right. Now, there's three parts that I want to talk about with the agenda. First part I want to talk about with the agenda is, what does it mean to be on offense? Second, I want to talk about how have you gotten better? How have you gotten smarter? How have you positioned yourself better so when the opportunity presents itself, you're ready to take advantage of it? And lastly, if anybody knows me, I'm all about tools. I'm all about strategies and techniques, concrete things that you can use right now to improve your business and improve your life. So I'm going to end with a couple of tools that I really want to share with you that I love using, and believe me, they're so simple, it's amazing, and they've been so effective. So I want to deliver those for you as well. Let's start by talking about what does it mean to be on offense, right? Think about what was your routine before the shelter-in-place order came down in your state? What were the things that you were doing to advance, your business, to generate new business, generate new customers? Well, if you're like me, a lot of the prospects have kind of been sidelined. So they're not really interested in hearing from me for purposes of hiring me right now. So does that mean that I should be sidelined in my business as well? I mean, I guess I could say that, but the problem with that is I'm responsible for a family, 3 children, a lot of financial responsibility. So I've got to continue to keep my business going, and I've got to figure out some way that I can stay on offense. And so what I did was I kind of redefined offense for me. Offense for me is maybe not necessarily being able to throw the ball down the field for a touchdown or hit a home run, out of the park, or maybe score a winning basket. And I use those metaphors in terms of getting new clients. Offense for me is about staying in shape. To use the analogy of fitness analogy, I see my job as much as possible maintaining what the status quo was prior to the shelter-in-place order. And if I've got to lose some ground, I want to fight like hell to minimize the ground that I'm going to lose. Because what I want to do is I want to keep me, I want to keep my team, and I want to keep my business in shape. Because when it comes time to strike, I don't want to dig myself out of a hole. And I think that's what a lot of the competition is doing. I think a lot of the competition figures that well, what am I supposed to do? Nobody wants to hire me. Nobody has a budget to hire me. Yeah, but it doesn't mean there are not a bunch of other things that you can do. Now, Thomas Edison said, man will do everything he can to avoid the hardest of all labors, which is think for himself, right? And so you've got to start to think about your business, think about what you can do differently so that you're staying on offense, so you're staying in shape. I was reading an article about a French marathoner maybe a month ago, and this guy ran a marathon in place on his balcony outside his apartment in Paris. I thought, what an amazing metaphor for staying on offense. Okay, he's not going to set a personal best. He's not going to set any world records. But here's what he is going to do. What he's going to do is he's going to stay in as good a shape as he could possibly stay in. He's not going to put on unnecessary weight, because when the curtain lifts, yeah, he might have to do some quick training to get in peak performance shape, but he's not going to be like most of his competitors who have put on some weight, have to go through maybe a nutrition regimen or do some weightlifting to make their body stronger again, or do some extra running. What he's going to do is he's going to tweak his workout so that he's going to accelerate, getting back to that level, that last 10%, because he didn't let himself go all the way back to 0 or 10 or 50 or 20%, right? That's what you want to do in terms of staying on offense, or that's at least what I'm doing. Evander Holyfield is a great example. Evander Holyfield, if you remember, was a heavyweight champ of the world. And his training regimen was in contrast to his competitors. Holyfield, if you looked at him, was like a Greek god. He was unbelievably chiseled. Well, most champions, what happens is once they become the champion, they get distracted by all of the opportunities that come along with it. You know, there are all these appearances, you know, being on the Tonight Show or being in television shows or being in the movies, you know, being invited to go to banquets, you know, all the kinds of things that distract them from their training. So what happens invariably is they put on a lot of weight and they get out of shape. And then because they have to keep their championship status going, they got to take on the next contender. And so maybe the fight is 6 months or 8 months off, 2 or 3 months prior to the next fight, they go back into the gym and they put themselves through this rigorous training regimen with all kinds of nutrition and massive weight loss drop in a short period of time that no doubt takes a toll on your body. And hopefully there's been enough runway to get them back to peak condition by the time the fight comes. Holyfield, in contrast, whether he won or lost this fight, would take 2 weeks off and then he would get back to the gym. He wouldn't train to be in peak performance until, you know, 2 or 3 months before the fight, just like his competitors. But he didn't have such a long road to travel. He had a very short road to travel. He didn't want to be in peak performance, you know, or train at peak performance level 6, 8, 9 months out because he could burn himself out. But he also didn't want to put himself at a key disadvantage where his body weight and his condition went up and down, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. And it really helped him to sustain, you know, his status as a reigning heavyweight champ for a long time. He was extraordinarily competitive for a long time because you're only as good as your body when it comes to boxing. And he took incredible care of his body. So what I'm saying to you is this, is I think the key is prepare to be ready when the opportunity presents itself. That's all. How are you preparing to be ready? And then maybe what you have to do is redefine what it means to be on offense. You've got to set up a routine, you know, in the context of the shelter-in-place order that's going to be different, but it's going to have the same meaning as your routine prior to the shelter-in-place order. Not easy, but challenge yourself to think uniquely. You have to, right? If you're in your own business, you certainly have to, because you still have to pay the bills, right? Yeah, sure, you could have some delay maybe on your mortgage or on your rent if you're in that kind of a situation, but it can't go on forever. So you've got to be ready. Second thing I want to talk about, I want you to engage in a little introspection. I want to ask yourself a serious question, and I want you to be honest with yourself. We've been at this shelter in place for about 40 days now in some states. Question I have for you is, how have you gotten smarter, more effective, and better positioned for success when the curtain lifts? I talk to a lot of people, and I will tell you, there's a lot of people that aren't getting better. They just see it as you know, what else am I going to do? And they're just marking time. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to have taken advantage of these past 40 days. And it looks like, you know, things are beginning to shift. You know, in some states, they're starting to, you know, phase one, re-engage in the business community. Others are going to be May 15th. Others are going to be May 31st, right? So it seems to be on the horizon. So you can look at it from two ways. One way is take a great deal of satisfaction that you made the most of your time and still continue to get better. Or let's say you didn't make the most of your time and you're listening to this, you know, this podcast or this YouTube video, and you know, you're saying to yourself, you know what? He's right. And I'm going to take advantage of the last 2 weeks or the last 30 days here, and I'm going to get better. Look at it from an individual perspective. How are you going to get better individually? If you're part of a company, how can you get better in the context of your career so that people see how good you are? Guys, look, crises propose opportunities for you to show your unique ability. You see, a crisis will pass. Question is, when it passes, do people remember the role you played as a key player? Maybe you're not part of a bigger company. Maybe it's just you, or maybe you're a small business owner and you have a bunch of employees. And so what you have to do is think about, you know, how can I get better to help my company? How can I help my company get better? When I was putting this agenda together last night, my sister-in-law, Giselle, who's a teacher, I overheard her. It was kind of funny, you know. It was like, Literally, as I was writing this section here, she said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take one of these days during this quarantine and I'm going to figure out how my iPhone works. And again, it was a great metaphor, right? Like, what if you took one thing a day? After 40 days, you'd have 40 improvements stacked one on top of the other. Think about how empowering that would be. Okay, so maybe you're late to the game. Maybe you're going to just start today. You'll have 2 weeks of that. Because I guarantee you'll have 2 weeks more than many of your competitors. Make a list. How about this? Make a list. I put some examples here. Make a list of 5 areas and one thing you're going to improve in each area. One thing you're going to be better at. Guys, you may have heard me say this before, but I want you to hear this again if you have. And if you haven't, you're going to be surprised by this. The average college graduate reads 0.7 books per year. Yeah, I'm not making a mistake there. 0.7. If you read for 20 minutes a day, every day, if you're an average reader, 20 minutes a day, every day, at the end of 1 year, you'll have read 22 200-page books. I guarantee you most of the books that you're going to want to be reading are between 200 to 300 pages. That would put you, if you read one book a month to make you better, or listen to one book on tape a month. The average student, there was a survey, I remember it was done, Bob Ortiz, who used to run Cushman Wakefield here in LA, he told me the statistic a few years ago when Stanford was a bargain at $50,000 a year. The average parent would spend $50,000 a year on their child's education. It's $200,000. At the end of that 4-year education, over the next 10 years, that same student would spend a total of $1,200 on their own personal development. That's $120 a year. I'm going to tell you something right now. It is not hard to be good. And the reason it's not hard to be good is because most people are not willing to do what it takes to be good. So there's always room, always room at the top. Why is it always so crowded at the bottom? But there really are very few people that compete at the top. So how have you gotten better? How are you going to continue to get better? Now, I want to share 2 tools with you, okay, that I use in order to help me stay on offense. All right. First tool I want to share with you is my just bear with me here. Oh, excuse me, guys. All right. So what I want to do. So the first tool I want to share with you is what I call my weekly priority worksheet. And I want you to look at it from 2 perspectives, on the business and in the business. Here's what I do. I fill this out. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and you don't see this, if you email me at support@thepersontoc.com, support@thepersontoc.com, I'll make sure that you get a copy of this. So this worksheet, what I do is I fill this out on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday before the coming week. And the reason I do it before the coming week is because I know that if I try to fill it out on Monday, Tuesday, even noon on Monday, the likelihood of me getting it filled out is significantly diminished, because I'm immediately reacting, because I'm so busy and I have so many priorities and so many things I have to get to. So for me to sit down and to begin to think strategically about my business is very, very hard. So what I do is I want to set myself up for success. I want to prepare myself on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to win the week. So come 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. Monday morning, I hit the ground running. Now, guys, if you see this, I have on the left-hand side is on the business, and on the right-hand side is in the business. I want you to think of it like this. On the business are what I call my designated hitter skills. These are the things that help me grow my business, right? So it could be things like do a podcast. It could be things like advertising campaign on Facebook. It could be about creating a hit list of prospects to market the Person to See University to. All things that at the end of the day, in some way, shape, or form, relate to growing my business, expanding either the footprint of the business or increasing the bottom line, right? So that's on the business. In the business, all of the things that I have to do that are administrative in nature, that have to get done. Look at the P&L as an example, update my LinkedIn profile, right? Learning how to put a virtual background on my Zoom Zoom account. Things that don't necessarily help grow the business, but they definitely have to get done to keep the business going. Now, this is an important feature here for me that I want to share with you. I use this document as a brain dump. I don't only put on this document those things that are that I'm going to do this week. I put everything on this that's on my radar screen. I make the joke that if you looked in my brain, there would be nothing there. Not because I'm dumb, not because I'm empty-headed, but because I want to put everything down on paper. Now, I have this electronically, or you can use it. You can print it out as I like to do because I'm a very visual person. And for me, if I keep it on my computer, sometimes I have a tendency to forget about it. So I do a brain dump. And then what I do is during the course of the week is I check off the things that I get done. Then at the end of the week on Friday, before I'm done for the week, what I'll do is I'll sit down and I'll prepare the new one for the following week. And what I'll do is I'll say, okay, let me start by moving over those things that I didn't get done. And then what I'll do is I'll add to it, because I'll look at my monthly goals and I'll say to myself, okay, what about my monthly goals do I want to work on this week? Or what are some other things that, got on my radar screen during the course of this week that I hadn't thought of before? And I'll add to it. So my list is pretty filled up. It doesn't mean it's going to get done, all of it. When I first started out building my business, I did this every day. It was amazing, the power of execution. I'm not suggesting you do that. You can if you want, but I had a lot of things that I want to get done in a very short period of time because I was just starting my business, right? Whereas people were taking 3 months, I wanted to take 3 days to get my website up. So there are many moving parts and I wanted to be able to put all those things down. There was, I had to get my logo done. I had to get my brochures done. I had to get my email set up, like all these things that I wanted to get done. So instead of taking, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get my business going, I wanted to take 3, 4, 5, 6 days so I could get to work on prospecting. So you could use it on a weekly basis or you could use it on a daily basis if you thought it was useful. At the top there, you see where it says impact grade. I save these because what I want to do is have some accountability. I want to ask myself at the end of the week, I want to do a little bit of an assessment, which is, did I have heavy execution on the business side of the ledger, right? So on this worksheet, on the left is on the business, on the right is in the business. And I want to give myself a grade, an A, B, C, D, or F, because I want to know is, in terms of impact, did I move my business forward? Did I help myself, get to the next level in some way, shape, or form? So I want to give myself a grade. I'm all about measurement. I'm all about accountability. And yes, it's a gut grade. I mean, it's nothing, there's no science to it, but this has been a super, super helpful tool for me. I also want to share with you on this is that 2 things. One is that it's very easy to major in minor things. And what I mean by that is you have a detailed list on the right side of your priority worksheet with all of the in the business activities. And if you're not careful, you can work those really aggressively. And you can say to yourself, boy, I was super busy, but you weren't necessarily productive. So make sure that you're focused on the right activities and you have the right balance. The left side needs to get done first, which is on the business, right? The most important on the business activities get done first, and then in the business activities get done second. Second thing I want to share with you is, if you want to be successful, here's what I suggest. Start fewer things and finish more things. I'll give you a good example. One of my clients owns a independent supermarket chain in Orange County in San Diego, and LA for that matter. They have a couple of stores in LA. They're very successful, and they're very much into planning. But they were going through some challenging times, and the CEO was a friend of mine, was a client of mine, and is a friend of mine. He told his people, look, we got to start landing some of these planes. And what he meant by that was, hey, we go to these strategic planning sessions and we come up with buckets of ideas. And everybody has really good ideas, but we become, generation of the ideas becomes the thing of the day. He said, we have to stop generating more ideas and start implementing some of these ideas that we already have, right? So start fewer things and finish more things. You're going to see yourself be really, really productive. Okay, I want to go to the other. Let me see. Here's the other tool that I want to share with you. All right, I love this tool. Love it. Absolutely love it. This is a tool that I use to stay on track daily, right? These are the key to-dos. So what I do is, this has 2 pages to it, all right? Here's the first one. It's not 2 pages, but this is the cover. This is the inside. Cover, inside. So imagine this is folded in half. It's all of 2 by 2, right? Or 2.5 by, actually, I'm wrong. It's 3 by 5. It's a 3 by 5 card that I had designed with, this matches our training materials. So it's got the same branding on the outside. I put on the back there, I'm a man of action, not a man of planning. And what I do is the night before the next day, I sit down and I look at that priority worksheet and I say to myself, what are the 3 most important on the business activities? And what are the 3 most important in the business activities? And I write them down. 3 most important on the business, 3 most important in the business. I then put it in my pocket. Guys, first of all, you're going to be blown away at how difficult it is to get each of these done. Because what happens is things get in the way. But if you can fight like heck to stay focused on your business and execute the way you need to, you're going to move your business forward tremendously. I mean, you're going to move it forward so briskly. I want you to think about this. There's 220 work days in the year, right? Let's go down, let's say, 3 weeks of vacation or so. That means there's 200 where you could work. Times 3 is 600. If you did 600 things intentionally related to your business, it's impossible not to move your business forward. It's absolutely impossible. So what I do is I plan my week on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I plan my day the night before. And literally, I take this 3 by 5 card and I put it in my pocket, and it's my business plan for the day in my pocket. Something pops up, I write on it, and I go back, I write on my priority worksheet to add it to my priority worksheet. So nothing gets forgotten. Everything that's in my mind goes down on paper. So that's what I do in order to stay on track. Last thing is this for you guys. What are your commitments? What do you want to do? What do you want to do between now and when that curtain lifts? Do you want to pick one category and work on 3 or 4 things? Do you want to pick 5 categories and work on 1? What I want to caution you against is don't try to make up ground. You cannot go backwards. All you can do is go forward from where you are today. So pace yourself. I'll share with you a story, and this is what I want you to think about. This is a story I remember. It's kind of guided me in my business and how I try to guide my clients. When I was going to college, my dad, I remember I was 18 years old and we were driving on Hilltop Circle in Mendon, New Jersey, where I grew up. And my dad was driving. I was in the passenger seat. We were talking about going off to college. And he said to me, son, I want you to shoot for B's. Now you can imagine an 18-year-old kid. I'm like, that's unbelievable, Dad. That's great. I would love to do that. He said, no, you're missing my point. He said, you're going to school in Washington, D.C., and I'm afraid if you go down there and you focus only on grades, you're going to miss the whole experience. I want you to go and I want you to visit the monuments. I want you to go to lectures. I want you to get involved in student government. I want you to be involved in athletics. I want you to go to class. I want you to socialize and go out with your friends, because I want you to develop, the total you. That's what the college experience is all about. And so what I would say to you is shoot for B's. Just shoot for B's. If you deliver B's consistently, you will blow the competition away. If you become addicted to only A's, you drive yourself mad. You're going to be like John Nash. Remember that in A Beautiful Mind, where he drove himself crazy because of his obsession with perfection? Guys, in an earlier podcast I did, I said embrace imperfection. It's true. Get it to where it's good enough, then move on. Remember, even a masterpiece is never finished. It just has to be abandoned, right? Da Vinci could have continued on the Mona Lisa, but he just had to say, I'm done. I'm going to move on to something else. Same thing with Michelangelo. Same thing with all of the greats. Okay? So I hope you found some value in this. Just to summarize real quickly, and then we're done. Maybe you got to redefine what it means to be on offense, but stay on offense. Number 2, what have you done to get better? And what can you do to continue to get better so that you're better, smarter, and more well-positioned when the curtain lifts? And number 3, if these tools work for you, put them in play. A little bit at a time, shoot for bees. Because if you do, guys, you'll blow the competition away. Remember, you are your best bet. So get to work.